Canada is a trading nation. Supply chains are critical to our economic success. Supply Chain Canada has commissioned a detailed study into emerging trends impacting the digital transformation of supply chains and the corresponding impacts to your organization's strategy. Digitization has enormous potential to improve both the effectiveness and the efficiency of supply chains, and this will make organizations that adopt these technologies more valuable. In fact, one recent study concluded that 80% of organizations that don't embrace emerging digital technologies by 2026, that's just 3 years away, will see their market valuations decline as they get surpassed by those who do. So clearly, this is an imperative for the sector. Using technology to increase efficiency and effectiveness is critical, but there are risks. Not the least of these is the increased vulnerability of digital networks to disruptions, both targeted and intentional, like cybercrime, hacking, etc., but also others that are more passive. The consequences of mistakes and oversights made in the implementation, operation, and management of the many interconnected systems that make up a digital supply chain network. It'll be important to address all of this, and the key will be people. Technology doesn't run itself, at least not yet. And so any digital strategy needs to include a corresponding people strategy. And there are a lot of factors to consider. Let's face it, some of the technologies we're talking about didn't even exist until quite recently, and they're evolving at an exponential rate. Organizations need to understand what the skills are to effectively use and manage these technologies, how those skills can be deployed within their organization, and how these skills will even be acquired in the first place. Some of these emerging skills include things like understanding and analyzing data. There's massive amounts of data that'll be generated through technologies like the Internet of Things, AI, and blockchain. People at all levels will need to know what it all means, how to analyze it, how to interpret it, and how to use it to make better decisions and to optimize results, and to do it in ways that protect sensitive data. Cybersecurity. Everyone in the organization will need to understand and be able to manage the inherent vulnerabilities of digital systems to disruptions, whether these are the result of active, targeted threats and attacks, the results of natural or mechanical disasters, or simply the result of human error. And, perhaps counterintuitively, in an increasingly digital world, personal skills will be ever more important. Things like communication, collaboration, teamwork, problem-solving, decision-making, and maybe most important, the ability of individuals to adapt, learn, and improve continuously. And then there'll be a whole array of new skills that we really don't even know about yet, involving how we interact and interface with the technologies. And these new skills will become critical for tomorrow's workforce. Supply chain leaders need to think about, where will you find people with these skills? How will you screen for them in the recruiting and hiring process? How will these emerging and evolving skills requirements change the nature of your talent pipeline? And what will that talent pipeline need to look like in just a few years? Many of the roles where these skills will be required are new. Who had even heard of a digital supply chain manager, a supply chain analytics manager, a blockchain coordinator, or a supply chain cybersecurity resiliency or recovery manager up until quite recently? But these roles now exist, and more will emerge. Figuring out how these new roles integrate with your existing business functions will be the key to making effective use of the new skills. And many existing job roles and categories will change, some dramatically, over the next few years. What do you do about the skills that will become less important in the future, or may disappear completely? What are the implications for your organization? Things like inventory management, planning, logistics coordination, and retail management roles will be significantly altered by emerging technology. What training or other support for these functions can be wound down? What will need to be modified? At what rate? And when? Is your organization ready? Perhaps more importantly, what does your organization plan to do with people whose existing skills may no longer be necessary? Jobs requiring primarily manual and physical skills may disappear completely in the near future. Can people be upskilled or reskilled? If so, how will you do it? What resources will be required, and for how long? Can the people be repurposed, or will you need to let them go? Whatever the decision, there will be impacts. Is your organization ready? Smaller organizations can face some challenges that their larger counterparts may not. Acquiring the technologies can be expensive. They have fewer staff to lead the transformation effort, and the impact and disruption from change is higher in a smaller organization. And they might have less ability to really understand and manage all the competencies required to thrive in a new digital age, and thus be less able to adapt to it. But whether you're large or small, this will impact your organization. Because every large organization has smaller organizations that occupy critical nodes along its supply chain. So ignoring the small players costs the big players and the economy as a whole in the long run. Government, both federal and provincial, can help by providing incentives to digitization, by coordinating policies, practices, and strategies that aid the sector in making the transformation. But industry can't wait for government to solve this problem. There's a real need for leaders in the industry to lead by providing proactively the inputs into the discussions that will inform government strategy and policy, by developing and sharing best practices across the sector, and by taking on a significantly larger role in the skilling, upskilling, and reskilling of the workforce. Industry needs to lead. Is your organization ready? This new world of digitized supply chains creates enormous new opportunities, but there are risks, costs, and vulnerabilities attached. The companies that survive will be the ones that can adapt quickly to the upheaval and disruption, or better yet, help to create it. Regardless, skilled people will continue to drive the success of organizations, just in different and evolving ways. Is your organization ready?